Alright, well, we got her out front, and we're stripping out the things that were attached to the center section. We've gotten the fuel filter back, fuel lines back, and had to be disconnected from the engine anyway. We've got all the e-brake cables, brackets. Here's the e-brake cable itself. We got it back far enough. And we've got, oh man, what all was on here? The pedal assembly, master cylinder assembly's off. Master cylinder for the clutch is off. Yeah, I think we're moving on. I did manage to get the tabs welded on for the brake hoses, and so we'll go ahead and dress those a little when we're doing the rest of this. I guess I need to disconnect that thing. Probably just go ahead and pull the steering out of the way for now after I get the bearing out. So yeah, we're doing all right. Next thing we're going to do is drain the antifreeze. So next thing we're probably going to go after is the pull the radiator, engine, and trans. I think I'm going to pull the trans separately and from the engine. Oh yeah, here's a good one for you. Look, when you're inside, it's kind of dark, you don't see very good. Yeah, you miss it. There's actually a hole for the clutch arm, big one right there, lined up on both of them. So no big deal now. That's where our hoses will come out for our slave cylinder. So there you go. Let's see what else we got. I think that's the bulk of it. Now it's just time to work on this transmission and the engine and move them on. I'll show you the brackets. Alright, so here's the bracketry that we're currently working on as part of the e-brake, clutch master cylinder, compressor, and then of course this whole monster, which is the brake system. I do have to still take this plate off and do it separately, and then I'm going to pull off the vacuum advance, or the vacuum booster, and then we'll pull off the master cylinder. I think we'll leave the vacuum booster as is, but we are going to paint the master cylinder, and we're going to paint this bracket that holds the proportioning valve on. So we'll take it apart. There'll be a little more bracketry to deal with, and then see about that engine and trans. Maybe we need to take a break. Let this sweat. Well, yeah, another correction. This thing does have, master cylinder has 2 ports on each side, so I'll need to get a couple of plugs to plug off this side, and then we'll come out of this side up to our proportioning valve, which hangs out right out here. All right, just a correction. It has been one insane sort of day. So I think we showed earlier that took all the brackets and things out. Then we dropped the transmission cross member. We pulled the engine. It took us a long time to pull the engine. There are a number of issues, one of which is our crane there is broken. Ended up having to put a chain fall on there and then locking the arm in place. It's been dreadful today, but we're getting there now. So this part of the frame is prepped. You'll notice how it's very white. That's pretty much where the rust is affected by the rust stabilizer that you apply. So first thing you do is you apply the cleaner degreaser, rinse that off. That should be in hot water to do a real effective job. Then you spray on the rust stabilizer, which is a salt type solution. It's blue liquid water base, and you have to keep it wet depending upon the level of rust about 30 minutes, and then you're ready to coat. You need 2 thin coats minimum of 415. I generally do just 2 coats, relatively thin. And if you don't get good coverage on 2, I've been known to do another. The engine mounts have now been fully welded in, and that cross member and those mounts and that whole area has got single coat on it, and we're going to come back to it pretty shortly. So before we start on this section of the frame, we're going to work on some brackets. I'll show you those. So here's bracketry of all kinds. This is the transmission cross member. Again, you see how the rust has been, like say, converted. I'm not sure what the chemical reality is. Here's the mounts that motor mounts that go onto the engine that drop into the motor mounts we just saw. There's the master cylinder over there. That's the compressor plate. Yeah, a bunch of different brackets, which you've seen probably too much of. And yeah, so we're moving on. It's going to get dark shortly, so I'll be 415ing in the dark. Got my little wonder lights over there, and we'll get them going here in a minute. And yeah, we're just going to paint. So I'm hoping to get it painted well enough where I can drop that engine back in there today. Otherwise, what am I going to do with that thing? Anyway, we'll see what we can do. We'll probably get it. Talk to you in a bit. Well, back to it. Saturday was a long day, but we got a lot done. So the frame 415 job's finished. You can see it, hopefully, all the way across there. Looks good. There's always some gloss differences, it seems like, with 415 between uses. Not a big deal for the frame, for sure. Main thing about 415 in my book for the frame is protection. This stuff is pretty brutally hard, and seems to do a really good job. So it's time to start putting it back together. Let me show you here. So this is one hookup point for the parking brake system, and there's the adjuster is down there. So this rear cable just simply feeds through here, and then it just engages those latches, and we're there. We do have a wire tie with a Christmas tree on it just to help keep the cable close by. There's also another one. Let me go back here a little further. There's another one right here, and yeah, I like these things. This helps keep things neat and looking good, as you can see. So we've got that terminated. Now the other end of that cable is terminates through this center of this bracket right here. A little awkward, but actually it works, so I'm okay with it. So the cable I showed you that we messed up, we took the cab off, is here, and got a new version of it. So what we do here is, see if you, I hope you can see this okay. So this end of the cable, let me show you. This end with the larger bullet shaped end that goes up into the cab. This end, which is more of a cylinder shape, goes through here, and then this engages. There we go. That engages there, and then the bracket can slide forward, and that'll let us put this together right here in the center. As it turns out, actually, let's see, turn it a little bit here. There we go. This thing, just for reference, I guess, this thing just supposed to go. Hang on, this thing getting a latch anyway. So this thing should go in here like this, and then pull to. So what we've got to do, we got to loosen our bracket up. Loosen the adjuster so that this thing can slide all the way forward. May even have to take it off, I'm not sure about the clearances on it. Remember, but for starters, it's going to slide all the way forward. And this thing doesn't quite want to engage today. I'm not putting enough force on it. And yeah, that's enough to go ahead and let it engage. Sorry, you're not going to be able to see this very well, but I am. Okay, so you make sure that that thing is totally bottomed out in that connector, which it is. And then we can come in here and tighten this thing fully. And then once it's up in the cab, of course this thing's going to, well, we're not going to tighten it completely, but once this thing's up in the cab, this end of it will hook on to the brake handle, the parking brake handle, and then once we get it all connected, and we just slide this bracket back and forth, and for now we're just going to tighten it, and we'll worry about adjusting it when the cab's back on it. And yeah, I'm kind of happy with this. One of my big uncertainties, obviously, on this project was how I was going to deal with parking brake. Honestly, if it was automatic transmission, I'm not sure I would have worried about it, unless my inspection requirements required it. I think they would have, but certainly, I think it's turned out as well as can be expected. And then this goes up in the cab. So yeah, we're good to go on the e-brake system for now. And so let's move on to the next thing. So the next thing is clutch installation, transmission installation. And actually the order matters in this case. We've got our transmission crossmember that comes across here, and I want to bolt it into the frame, bottom frame rail, and which means I need to drill it, which means I really don't want the brake system in my way. Brake system normally mounts right over here, and well, it would be all in the way if it were in there for drilling that transmission crossmember. So we're going to go ahead with it. This is a McLeod Racing clutch. Nothing terribly special about it. It's just a clutch. Here's the slave cylinder throwout bearing, which will go into the transmission. Main thing I'm waiting for now is somebody to help me move the transmission into the frame. It's sitting over there out of the way. And so yeah, this will get mounted in there. Got to make some measurements, and we've got to make some adjustments in order to get the throw right on it. And you can see, I suspect, over there that we do have the clutch master cylinder installed, short of one bolt, and but we're going to hold on the brake system until we get that cross member in here. So while we're waiting to do that, probably go ahead and put the compressor in, the air compressor in, and I'll show you that. So there you go. Alright, so we got that bolted in there, and time to drop in this air compressor, bolt it down, and then I'll show you more. Alright, so we've got that installed now, and seems to work well. One little plan change we made is only using 2 of those bolts that are bolted. The other 2 are just as pins. It's not going to jump out of there. I'm not worried about that. And they were just very difficult to get to, and the 2 I left, or at least one of the 2 I left, was really difficult to get to. So just going to leave it for now. 2 should do fine, and the other 2 bolts will act as pins, keep them jumping about. And but you see, it's pretty well secured and not moving around. So hey, we're good with that. Let's move on to the next thing. Alright, well, it's now time to set the clearance on our clutch to slave cylinder. It needs to be, according to McLeod Racing, it needs to be in the range of 100 to 150 thousandths. So what we need to do is we need to determine the measurement between the face of the bell housing and the highest point on the forks, the point where the clutch, or excuse me, the throwout bearing will contact the clutch pressure plate. So what I'm using here is just all I really have. It's a yardstick, 4-foot stick, and but it is straight. So one thing you can do using an ultra cheap Harbor Freight 8-inch micrometer of sorts. I don't really consider it a micrometer, but it does measure reasonably accurately. So what you need to do, if we push this out, we contact it against one of the teeth, then we can set this distance and just use our finger to line up on the straight edge. Problem is, it's a bit inaccurate, so what I've been doing is just put this all the way against the face of the rule, and then just catching the tooth, max it out. Now, the difference in the proper measurement would be to to subtract this. But since we're looking for a difference between the two dimensions, it really doesn't matter if this is included. So I'm going to go ahead and include this in the measurement. That's 4.345. Let's check it again. Let's see how close we get. 4.35. So we'll say it's 4.35. 4.34. 4.34. So yeah, I'm good with that. All right, 4.34. Let me see, 4.34. Let me make sure I got that right. Get one shot at this thing, I think, pretty well. Still zeroed out. I've said a dozen numbers. I'm not sure which one's correct here. I've looked at a dozen anyway. So, oops. Real hard, real easy to miss the tooth there. 4.34. All right, we're good with that. Now, I could measure it to the thousandth, but I don't believe our accuracy is close enough to do that. So, I'm just going to go with 4.34 as the dimension. So I don't know if you can see it or not. It says 4.339. So 4.34 is what I'm going to go with. So we've got that portion measured. Now we need to measure on the face of, off of the face of the throwout bearing. Okay, so the same concept's going to apply here, except it's just sitting on the face of the transmission. We can just set it on the face of the throwout bearing. So what we're going to do, and this is where it gets kind of a little bit touchier, is you can rock this back and forth. So you want to try to get it as straight and parallel with the face of the throwout bearing as possible, which we're just going to double check it a number of times and kind of take an average. Yep, let's move this out of the way. This hydraulic line out of the way, and go again. So again, we're going to try to hold it as square as we can to the face. It's pretty much on it right there, and that's 4.226. All right, so let's extend it out a little bit again. Try again. Come on. Holding it wrong. Let me get on the other side over here. Oof. I just set this transmission off in between the rails by my old man self, and kind of paying a price for it. Alright, so we're square. Pushing the wrong thing. That's turned off. Try this again. Alright, here we go. We know we need to go past 4.3. So what I like to do is just get larger than I know I need to be, and then come in, put it against the face. Just push it until it touches. 4.213. Do it again. Wrong way. There we go. .2. 4.21. So for now we're going to say 4.2, and I'm going to check the other side. Write this down real quick. 4.2. Might be able to say 4.21. It's right in that range. Let's do this other side. Again, it's every time you let go of this stick, you can put it back in a slightly different place. So it's kind of touch and go there. All right, so we'll put it. It's the face. Grab the right part of the stick. There we go. .19. So we're going to go with 4.2 as the dimension. So we say it's 4.2. 0. The other one was 4.34. So the difference is 120 thousandths. Is that right? Let's see, 100. Calculator. Alright, so if we take 4.34, subtract 4.20, we get 0.14 or 140 thousandths. So we're on the high side. We want it to be between 100 and 150. If I turn this thing one full loop in, or out, excuse me, so that it gets closer to the throwout or to the clutch face, pressure plate face, that means we're going to gain 30 thousandths, 60 thousandths. I could do 30 thousandths, which would be to turn it half. So let's do that, and then we're going to remeasure this little guy. So the thing is, if you turn it half, though, you need to have your bleed line up. Your bleed line needs to be facing, needs to be on the upside so that you can get the air out of the system easier. So what you're going to do, well, if we turn it out 1/2, should give us 30 thousandths additional clearance, or additional, reduce our clearance by 30 thousandths. And all we have to do is simply switch this fitting and this fitting, and now our bleeder will be on the top, and it's just that simple. So you just put it right there. There you go. So now the bleeder's on top. They are on this this throwout bearing from McLeod Racing. They're interchangeable. Either one can be the bleeder. Therefore, it gives you that kind of half turn level of accuracy that you can work for. Now, one thing that I know is going to happen whenever I put these out this hole, it's going to turn a little bit. So I'm going to leave those wires poking out, or those tubes, excuse me, poking out the hole for the clutch probe, and we're going to see how that measures out, and if it measures good, anywhere between 100 and 150, we're going to go with it. I kind of like to be on the downside of the 100 to 150, be closer to 100. No idea why. Maybe I want quicker engagement. I'm not sure exactly what my reasoning is, but I like it that way. So take our stick again, put it up here. In this case, I'm just going to leave it where the end's laid down. I'm not holding it up. Maybe a bit easier to do that way. So again, we're going to go past our measure, and then we'll hold it where it's at least level, even, and then we're just going to push in. And we've got 4.24, which about right. That's 40 thousandths difference. And let's do it again. It's 4.24. Just hit it. Just moved it. .24. So I'm going to go with that and say it's 4.24. So 4.34 minus 4.24. I think we already know that answer is 0.1. So it's 150 thousandths, which is the lower end of where we want to be. Pretty sure that's where the bearing's going to ride once we get the hoses in there and piped up and everything. it's going to ride within that range right there anyway, which is a small number of degrees. So I'm good with it. 100,000s, the limit's 100 to 150,000. So yeah, let's move on. It's well enough adjusted. Now we can see about getting it installed. First, I need to drill holes in the transmission cross member. You don't need to see a drill going. So I'm going to drill some holes for 3/8 bolts in the transmission cross member, and then we're going to get on with this thing, get this transmission installed this evening. Alright, so we got the transmission installed, mounted on the cross member, mounted on the block. Still need to torque those transmission to bell housing bolts. We'll do that shortly. And yeah, now we just need to even up, measure off the frame and even up the transmission cross member, which is pretty close right there. We'll drill some holes, and the transmission will be installed, hopefully, for the last time. Alright, moving on. I think we'll cut this video for now. We'll start part 21 tomorrow. Part 21 should include the pedals, brake master cylinder, and whatever else we choose to do next. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe start the brake lines. I need to rerun the fuel lines, get those resecured. So there's plenty to do. We got air lines, brake lines, rest of the air system. So yep, for now that's it. Drive lines back together. Yeah, once I get the got a 4AN hose coming to connect the slave cylinder to the master cylinder with the clutch. We'll get that bled, make sure we get engagement, disengagement, those kind of things when that gets here. But that's going to be another couple days before those arrive. So yeah, we're happy. One thing to note, I may not be able to see it, but I'll just tell you about it. Where those hoses come out, the slave cylinder hoses come out the side. Put some 3/8 inch, split some 3/8 inch fuel line, wrapped them around those hoses. Used a bit of electric tape to secure them well, so that we don't get any abrasion on those lines during operation. So yeah, hopefully that's useful, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah, I like it. We're heading the right direction. Now we just gotta keep putting it back together. I guess oh, come on now. Transmission cross member is even where I want it, right where I want it. Drilled a hole on one side, dropped a bolt through it. Battery died on my drill, so I'll finish that later. But drill a hole on the other side, and then there's actually 4 bolts total on that. But we'll get those drilled out, get those bolts installed, and that'll be secure for the day. The bottom of the transmission motor, the bottom transmission motor mount that goes onto that cross member is secured now. Got it all tightened up. Got all the bell housing and transmission mount bolts torqued to spec. And yeah, looking good. All right, we'll close it out. We'll get back to you on the next one.